Yeah. So, question. Clearly to be successful in the next election cycle, not necessarily 2028, but like midterms or even municipals this year. Democrats are going to have to make up some ground in terms of vote share. And that can come from really one of two places. That could come from energizing folks who are part of the base, folks who have voted Democrat in the past and maybe sat out the last election for whatever reason. Or that could come from siphoning votes from folks who are consider themselves apolitical and don't vote, or folks who traditionally maybe vote Republican. I'm setting this up as you have to choose. I guess maybe you don't have to choose, but it does feel difficult to do both. It does feel like it feels to me kind of like you do kind of have to choose, or make a strategic choice over which group are you okay maybe I don't want to say losing votes, but if you pick one group, there's a chance you might alienate folks in the other group. So anyway, that's a long way of asking which path do people take to get back to that winning coalition?
Yeah, I firmly believe, I'm not trying to skirt your question. I just firmly believe that if you think there is a choice, that is instantly putting yourself on the back foot. If you look at the most successful Democratic politicians in the past 20 years, almost all of them did better in almost every category than the ones that didn't win.
Right.
So President Obama, who we were talking about a little bit earlier, he did better among just about every group.
Sure.
And it's almost
Dude
like
won Indiana.
Yeah, he won Indiana.
And he won North Carolina.
He won North Carolina. If we'd have been having this conversation, if we'd had a conversation in 2005, right? We knew that President Obama had a amazing speech at the DNC. But I think that if we'd had a conversation in 2005,
nobody would have been floating him.
We wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, he's not only is he going to win, but he's going to win in what looks like a landslide today.
Right.
Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah. I remember having a conversation with people in 2005. I remember it very well. And them being like, no, we'll never have a black president. It's never going to happen. And literally 3 years later, it happened. So sometimes we have to have messengers who are willing to have conversations with everybody. And usually it is a situation where, as the cliche goes, a rising tide lifts all boats. If you have a message that appeals to people, it'll probably appeal to a much broader group of people than you think. But I don't think, I will say this because it needs to be said. We have got to stop treating Trump like he is this once in a generation, amazing, untouchable politician. He's run for president 3 times. He has never gotten a majority of the electorate to vote for him. I'll say that again. He's run 3 times and he's never gotten a majority of the electorate to vote for him. Now, someone's going to listen to that and they're going to say, but he got more votes than Kamala Harris last time. That is not a majority. He got like 49 and some change. So literally we're treating this dude who has never gotten most voters to vote for him as though he is this untouchable dude. The numbers don't bear that out. So why are we acting like he is? The other thing that doesn't bear that out, frankly, is that everybody who tries to copy him and do their poor man's Donald Trump impersonation gets whooped at the ballot box. Carrie Lake, whooped. Mark Robinson, whooped. Like, I can go down the list. If you try to pretend to be Trump, you're going to lose probably. And you're probably going to get embarrassed if you want to be frank. So why are we treating this guy like we cannot do anything to him? That he's this unassailable guy. He's not.
Well, I mean, I think there is some kind of like je ne sais quoi, like there's something unique about Trump that is not replicable in other candidates. That's certainly true. He did win a majority in North Carolina, I mean, and like nationally, absolutely, he's never won a majority, but a majority of North Carolina voters in a state that, hinges, we have some elections statewide come down to a couple hundred votes. He won by North Carolina standards, I would say like close to a landslide in a state that certainly a decisive win, decisive win.
Hey, look, 1/3, 3-3-3 is a good batting average, but it ain't good in politics, right? I think the other 2 times he didn't get a majority in North Carolina, right? And I'm not trying to say that we should not. I think this is, frankly, again, I'm not trying to make this to a bash the party session, but I think one of the things that we don't do. I'm a big believer in understanding your opponent. Know thy enemy, right?
Little Sun Tzu, yeah.
You got to, and we don't, a lot of times because we know that Donald Trump is such a problematic dude, we don't actually take time to try to figure out the things that he's successful at. To your point earlier,
I think it's a great point.
Yeah. To your point earlier, Daniel, I don't want to forget this because I think it's an important one. What has the American public seen about Donald Trump for the past 40 years? They've seen him in wood-paneled rooms, sitting in big chairs behind a desk, making authoritative decisions.
Firing people.
You're fired, right? They've heard, frankly, let's talk about the black community. We've heard rappers rap about Donald Trump since I was in middle school, elementary school. They've been talking about how he's
he's been synonymous with like the alpha
success.
Yeah,
he's been synonymous with success. So for most of Mark Robinson doesn't have 35 years in the game, rappers rapping about him, on television.
Pissing on his sister-in-law.
Yeah, like we don't that dude, man. I mean, that's an example though of somebody who tried to be like, he's over here trying to be Donald Trump. This is what since you're about to have the governor on. This is about it. I wish the governor, if there's one thing I wish he would have done in the campaign, Mark Robinson has like 10 siblings. I think he's one of 10. I wish he would have gotten at least one of his siblings to endorse Josh Stein. That would have been amazing. Because I guarantee, I guarantee at least one of his siblings either left it blank or didn't vote for him. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
I would be so mad at my brother. I'd be like, really, bro? Like, really? Out of anything? But I did have family members who are super, super Republican. And, when I was running, I asked people, you ask your family members for money. Yeah. And they're like, I'll give you if you need $100, here's $100. But I can't donate to your campaign. I just can't do it. Yeah. And I'm just like,
I believe it.
Man, really? Like, really?
I believe it.
But you still took their money, right?
Well, they didn't give me money. Like, they were like, I'll give you $100 if you need $100. Like, if I needed groceries or something.
If you needed, like, an oil change or something.
They'll do that. But they weren't doing it for the campaign. Definitely, being on Act Blue. If you get on that list, man, you're just ex-nayed from the Republican Party now.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about, we're coming up on some time here. What advice would you have for young people that are running, that are in a progressive state of mind, that are liberal, that would fall under the Democratic Party? What should they do? Do they go in and say, this is how we're doing this right out the gate? Do they listen? What advice do you have for them?
Yeah, number one, I would say knock on hard doors. Don't just knock on. I mean, one of the things I've said many times before, if you're only knocking on doors with lawns and not knocking on doors with steps, you're not going to some of these places where, it's, you kind of gotta drive into some places that you might not necessarily want to drive into to have conversations. You're not knocking on the right kind of doors.
If you're not getting good stories out of canvassing, then you're not canvassing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, if you want to, I started knocking on doors probably at this point almost 20 years ago in Catawba County, for a guy who was running for Congress, who was a great guy, Daniel Johnson, literally lost a leg for this country. Like legit dude, thought the world of him, wish he had won. But that's where I started knocking on doors. So, I'm not knocking on easy doors here. I'm knocking on doors where I'm going to have some tough conversations. So I would say to anybody, don't just stay on social media, which I'm not trying to make it into like a thing about social media, but go actually knock on some doors. Because there's a difference between having an event, having a town hall, for example, as a legislator, and expecting people to always come to you.
Oh yeah, that's not
versus
happening.
You going to them, right? So that's number one.
And you're talking about the knocking on doors that aren't because everybody has a minivan that is not. You look up their voting record. This person has voted Democratic for the last 40 years. Like, don't go knock on that door. You want to go knock on that one that's been flip flopping, or are you even saying to go knock on doors that have just been red all the way down?